Hi, my name is Philip Wong, and this is the Metropolitan Museum of Art. The Metropolitan Museum of Art is located on the eastern side of Central Park. The entrance of the museum faces towards East 82nd Street and 5th Avenue, or which is also known as Museum Mile, which is currently highlighted. The length of the museum spans between East 84th Street and East 80th Street, which is almost a quarter of a mile long. But the location of the museum was not always located in Central Park. The first Metropolitan Museum of Art was located at 681 5th Avenue. The museum then shortly after was moved to the Douglas Mansion at 128 West 14th Street. It was not until the 1880s that the museum finally found a permanent home on what is now 5th Avenue and 82nd Street. The original museum was designed by an American architect named Calvert Vaux and his collaborator Jacob Ray Mould. When the building was finished, it was not welcomed with open arms because of the dated Gothic revival style of the architecture. Since then, multiple architects have designed and expanded upon the original structure, eventually engulfing Vaux's original design with new additions until it has become the monument it is today. But out of all the architects that contributed to the museum, the most notable one would have to be Richard Morris Hunt. Richard Morris Hunt was responsible for the design of the dominating Beaux-Arts facade that can be seen from 5th Avenue. But before construction started, Richard Morris Hunt passed away, and his son Richard Howland Hunt finished the facade to as close as possible to his father's specifications in 1902. But due to the lack of funding during the construction, it left uncarved stone on top of the columns. Till this day, the facade is still unfinished, but it has been accepted as part of the overall facade.
I got a million ways to get it.
This is the Solomon R. Guggenheim Museum. The Solomon R. Guggenheim Museum is also located along the 5th Avenue or Museum Mile. The entrance of the museum faces towards the east side of Central Park. The museum is located between the streets of East 88th and East 89th Street. In June 1943, Hilaire Rebbe commissioned Frank Lloyd Wright to help Solomon R. Guggenheim construct a new home for his ever-growing collection of artwork. In July 1943, Wright can be seen here with Robert Moses, the New York Commissioner of Parks and City Construction Coordinator. Together with Guggenheim and Rebbe, they consider some sites that are suitable for building a new home for Guggenheim's art collection. September of 1943, Wright sketches up some possible designs for the museum, as can be seen here. On July 27, 1944, Guggenheim, Rebbe, and Wright meet together to discuss the plans for the museum. After seeing these plans, Guggenheim finds the drawings, quote, entirely satisfactory, end quote. In September of 1945, Guggenheim, Rebbe, and Wright unveiled the plans and models to the press, but the design isn't well received. Jumping a couple of years ahead, on November 3, 1949, Wright is 6 years into the project and Solomon R. Guggenheim dies at the age of 88. He leaves $2 million for construction towards the museum. In the winter through spring of 1950, Solomon's nephew, Harry F. Guggenheim, takes the seat as chairman of the board of trustees for the museum. 6 years later, on May 4, 1956, Harry F. Guggenheim publicly announces the construction of the new museum. On May 18, 1957, Wright hires George N. Cohen, whose company is skilled in the use of concrete. Cohen explains to the New Yorker, quote, the concrete becomes the finished structure. That's unusual. Most public buildings have facades of marble, limestone, or aluminum. 21st, 1959, after 16 years since the first sketch was drawn, the Solomon R. Guggenheim Museum opens up to the public. When both museums are placed next to each other, there are clear distinctive differences in their styles of architecture. When the Metropolitan Museum of Art entry facade is examined closely, it displays a great deal of Beaux-Arts architecture characteristics. These characteristics include arch windows, symmetry about the front of the facade, and hierarchy, which is achieved through the staircase that leads to the grand entrance, which is framed by the 8 enormous Corinthian columns that support the 4 piles of uncarved limestone and smaller Ionic columns that frame the entrance doors. Also, there is an abundance of carved stone and statues that ornament the facade. Adolf Loos would have disapproved greatly to Richard Morse's Hunt design of the facade, because he would have deemed the ornament unnecessary. On the other hand, the Solomon R. Guggenheim entry facade is very modern in design. Modern architectural characteristics that this building exhibits are: simplicity in design can be seen all around, and the clarity of the forms are predominant in design also. The entry facade is very straightforward with no ornaments or unnecessary detail. The use of the industrially produced materials in the structure would be considered the concrete facade that covers the exterior of the building, both contributing to the form and function of the building. The visual emphasis of the horizontal lines along the design of the Guggenheim are emphasized heavily, which is also another characteristic of modern architecture, where emphasis on horizontal and or vertical lines can be seen. In my opinion, if Louis Sullivan were to have critiqued the Guggenheim, I think that he would have gave it good remarks. Thank you so much for watching.
This is the Solomon blah, 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 blah.